It felt like an attempt to put your head into the tiger's mouth and bite its tongue off. On the 10th of March, 1967, a large group of American Thunder Chiefs and Phantoms received the following mission: bomb a steel mill in Tay Nguyen, north of Hanoi. It was such an important strategic object that it had every kind of defense North Vietnam could give it. Anti-air guns of all types and calibers, fighter aircraft. The pilots expected a very hot fight. A single F-105 was hit with a missile in the first few seconds, and another one had to retreat after suffering heavy damage. Soon, some MiGs took off and started tangling a fatal knot of jets, turbines, and fire. The Thunder Chiefs' strike squadron started dropping their bombs onto the mill. Soon after, they were joined by 3 Phantoms from the 433rd Fighter Squadron. It was their turn to strike. Diving on the target through heavy anti-air fire, bombs away, turning left, time to leave. 2 did, but where's the 3rd? Captain John Pardo looked around and saw that Earl Ammon's machine couldn't keep up. The long white plume seen behind it meant it was leaking fuel, and leaking bad. There was no doubt it would fall in mere seconds, and everyone knew the consequences of falling in North Vietnam. Once Amon reported that he and his weapons systems officer were going to eject, Pardo, remembering what capture entailed, dared the impossible. He wanted to push his friend mid-air. But how? Not a single handbook or manual ever mentioned this maneuver. Why would anyone even attempt that? He shouted at the shocked Amon to jettison his tail parachute. Pardo initially tried to push the crippled machine with the nose cone, but the airflow made the aircraft shake out of control. Then he came up with a new plan and asked Amon to deploy his tailhook. Perplexed, the pilot obliged and instantly felt a strong push. His aircraft started to gain speed. John Pardo maneuvered under his friend's Phantom, placed the tailhook against his own canopy base, and began to literally push the damaged plane away from North Vietnamese territory. The flight leader was silently watching the process from afar. It's hard to imagine what was on his mind that day. Meanwhile, Captain Pardo only needed to pull off a few things. First, he needed to thread the needle with his Phantom, for a single wrong move meant a tailhook going through his windscreen. Second, he needed a ton of luck. And of course, he needed no failures from his machine. But it did fail. The engines started overheating, and one of them had to be shut down to prevent a fire. 2 Phantoms were flying on a single engine. It lasted no less than 120 kilometers. What a view it must have been. When the altitude and speed finally dropped to the minimum limit, both crews successfully ejected. They were in Laos already, so the extract helicopter made it in time. Later, Captain Pardo was reprimanded for his actions. The official reason cited his lost aircraft. The story was so beyond imagination that the command simply couldn't wrap their minds around it after studying the reports. The case was only reinvestigated in 1989, resulting in silver stars for both John Pardo and Steve Wayne, his weapons system officer. On that day, March 10, 1967, John Pardo turned 34 years old. A rare case when both of your birthdays happen on the same date.